classes this week, what we've been really focusing on is self-acceptance and finding some peace in where we are. You might have noticed stuff has been a little weird recently. You might have noticed that it's been a little bit hard. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of fear or worry for people in our lives that might be at high risk of COVID. There might be fear or worry related to our jobs or related to any number of things that are happening in our world. And something that very often happens is that some of these negative emotions, the fear, the anxiety, the worry, it kind of snowballs into other areas of our life. And so we start to maybe not act as our highest selves. Because you know, like those days where you're like really well slept and you've eaten really well and you like went to a yoga class or you had a great run, like one of those days, and kind of anything that happens, you're like, we're fine. It's all good. Like you bumped into me with your coffee. We're good. It's all, no worries about it. But then on other days where you're feeling not so great, potentially, you know, those little moments, they can become really bothersome. And so something I've noticed in myself, and perhaps you've noticed into yourself as well, is that there's just this like little underlying friction in our world right now and in ourselves right now that could be causing you to feel like not your best. So I love the way that Byron Katie puts this. She says, anytime we have a negative feeling, we like attack onto the feeling. So we feel stressed and suddenly we're like, wait, how do I feel unstressed? Like, what do I do to make myself feel less stressed? And she says, actually, we have to go one step back because there's a thought that created our feeling. And we need to address the thought that is causing the issue rather than just the feeling itself. So the thought or the issue, the core issue isn't I'm stressed. The core issue is I believe that I should be doing better. I believe that this shouldn't be happening to me, right? Like there's thoughts that are causing the stress. And I'm currently reading this book by Marshall Rosenberg. It's called Nonviolent Communication. It's absolutely wonderful. And he puts this a slightly different way. He said, anytime we have these negative feelings, these negative thoughts, what it is unmet needs or feelings. So when we have these negative situations in ourselves, when we're not acting at our highest selves, there's negative feelings or unmet needs. There's unmet needs or feelings that are underneath it. And I just really loved that way of thinking about it and that backdrop of unmet needs that are causing us to act in specific ways. So that's really something that's been at the backdrop of what I've been thinking about in terms of why we might be feeling not as great as we are at other times. And I really love, there's this beautiful book by Thich Nhat Hahn. It's called You Are Here. Life changer, this one. Holy my goodness. And I wanted to read this piece for you guys from it, because a huge piece of it is seeing that we might not be acting as our highest selves and then finding some forgiveness there, finding some acceptance there, which is not always easy. So I love the way that Thich Nhat Hahn puts it. He says, if you feel irritation or depression or despair, recognize their presence and practice this mantra. Dear one, I am here for you. You should talk to your depression or your anger just as you would to a child. You embrace it tenderly with the energy of mindfulness and say, dear one, I know you are there and I am going to take care of you. Just as you would with your crying baby. There's no discrimination or dualism here because compassion and love are you, but anger is too. All three are organic in nature, so you don't need to be afraid. You can transform them. So dear one, I am here for you. And I thought that was so beautiful. And you know, how often is it that if we, I don't know, are standing at the fridge with our spoon and peanut butter because we're really stressed, or if we're beating ourselves up about not being able to make a decision, that's mine. How often is it that we say like, oh, dear one, like I see what's going on and I love you, right? It's so often we move into the negative self-talk rather into the self-care. So the last piece before we get into our meditation then is once we've seen what's here, we have a choice. Once we've seen, oh, we're in a pandemic, I feel pretty uncertain, might be a little scared, and I might not be acting as my highest self. Once we can kind of step away from the situation and see what's happening, it's like the bird's eye view, then we have that choice, right? Viktor Frankl says, between the stimulus and the response, there is a pause. And in that pause is our freedom. Before we make the choice, that's where the freedom lies. So I wanted to help us see the bird's eye, take the pause, and then choose how we want to proceed. So that's our intention for our meditation tonight. And let's get on into it. So you can find yourself in a comfortable seat. Find some evenness between the hips. Let the spine get nice and tall. You want to feel like you're lifting up through the crown of the head so that the chin tucks ever so slightly. If you want to take hands to the thighs, you can take hands to the thighs. Palms face up or face down. Eyes can be closed or soft gaze towards the screen, towards the front of the room, whatever works for you. Let's all take an inhale through the nose and a full exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Inhale through nose and exhale through the mouth. Start to breathe in and out through the nose. And let's find our focus wherever we feel the breath the most, whether it's our nostrils, where that clear, clean, fresh air meets the nose, or it might be at the back of the throat or the bottom of the throat, or at the lungs, the rib cage. Just notice wherever it is you feel the breath most, focus your attention there. And thoughts may be passing by, feelings may be passing by. Let them flow. So you can be present right here. I always try to remind myself our goal in meditation is not to get rid of all thoughts, it's to not get caught up in them. So anytime the mind wanders, you just bring it back to where it is you feel the breath the most deeply. And I'd like you to call to mind the last time that you had some negative self-talk. The last time you can think of where you felt either angry at yourself or sad or frustrated, maybe a little despair, whatever it was that you felt and that it caused some negative feelings towards yourself. When was the last time that happened? And really see yourself in that situation and notice, where do you feel that in your body? Right, when you think about that anger or that sadness or that despair, where do you notice it? What do you feel? Could be a sinking in the belly, a tightness in the heart or the throat, maybe a buzzing somewhere in your body. Just notice where it is. No judgment. And thinking about this negative self-talk as well as whatever led to that negative self-talk, ask yourself, what was the unmet need or feeling that led to that action, that led to whatever it was that caused your negative feelings, what might have been unmet? Just noticing it, acknowledging it, even if it feels silly or small or huge and unwieldy, it could be any of those or anywhere in between. Noticing. And now we've seen what the unmet need or feeling was that caused the action. But now let's ask ourselves, what is that unmet need or feeling that might have caused the reaction, that caused the negative self-talk? Right? Not just why did you do the action, but why did it cause this negative feeling within yourself? Check in, notice, no judgment as much as possible. Seeing these unmet needs and feelings rather than jumping into more criticism or story. Can you instead say to that past version of yourself, "Dear one, I am here for you. Dear one, I am here for you." You might even feel the call to touch whatever part of the body it is that you felt that feeling in, almost as if you were cradling a baby or helping to hold some part of you. Right? Touch can be incredibly soothing to our nervous system and help us direct our attention. Can you give a caring, loving touch to whatever part of your body it is that is feeling at unease, at dis-ease? Dear one, I am here for you. Let's take a full inhale through the nose. Big exhale through the mouth. Take your attention back to wherever it is you feel the breath the most. You might drop your hand if it feels right, or you can keep it on your body. And let's repeat to ourselves, may I express my feelings and needs. May I express my feelings and needs. Knowing that when we express our feelings and needs, it diffuses the despair or the anger or the sadness. May I express my feelings and needs. On your next breath, let's turn our attention to someone that you truly love, you truly care for, you feel really positive feelings about, someone in your world that is easy to love. And repeat to yourself, may they express their feelings and needs. Right? This wish that they also can grant themselves freedom to choose by expressing what it is they need. May they express their feelings and needs. You can use the person's name. And then turn your attention to the world. It's pretty big, but may all beings express their feelings and needs. May all beings express their feelings and needs. And just this global wish that we can all experience the freedom that happens when we express our feelings and needs. Take an inhale. Exhale to release. Hands pressed together at the heart. And inhale here. Exhale, health, healing, positive energy to someone in the world that could use it right now. Inhale. Exhale, gratitude and strength to our healthcare workers on the front lines. Inhale. Exhale, compassion, clear-sightedness, fortitude to our community leaders and policy makers. Inhale. Exhale, gratitude for each other, for everyone else that is showing up to practice and breathe here tonight. Inhale. Exhale, appreciation for ourselves, for always seeking to grow and to be our highest self. Bring the thumbs to the forehead. The light in me very humbly bows to the same light in each one of you. Namaste. Thank you all so much for practicing. I'd love to hear any reflections you have from that practice. I know for me, something that was really coming up was some of the ways it's been difficult for me to feel okay with feeling uncertainty right now. In many ways, my day-to-day has not changed. I'm very grateful for that fact, and that means that there can be a lot of pressure to feel okay. So specifically working on some of that positive self-talk there. I'd love to hear from any of you, whether that's in direct messages or here in the chat. Please know that all of these recordings are all up on my website. You can go to spirocollective.com/videos. I upload these as they're complete. All of these meditations and yoga classes are offered by donation. If you feel called to contribute, you can go to Venmo. I'm at Samantha-Attard. That information's in my Instagram profile as well as on my website. And I'll be back on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for a 30-minute yin. We've got Tuesday, 5 p.m. vinyasa, and then Thursday night meditation and reflection. So I so appreciate you all being here. Thank you for joining again. Would love to hear any reflections, questions, thoughts afterwards, whether it's in direct messages or here. Namaste, friends.